Good day, everyone. How are you guys doing? It is Sunday. I hope you guys are having an outstanding day today and you are reflecting on the week. So, as we've been saying, this is the Power Up Your Knowledge series. And every single Sunday, we ask ourselves, what did we learn during the week that's just gone by? And how have we grown and how have we developed? But most importantly, knowledge needs to lead to action, because knowledge on its own is only potential power. So this week, I want to speak to you guys about leadership, something that I am so passionate about. Everything rises and falls with leadership. Without leadership in a business, you can't build great businesses. So this is very, very important. So one of the guys that I follow is Jocko Willink. I hope I'm saying his name right. And he wrote the book of extreme. He wrote the book of extreme ownership. And I really enjoy having people that I follow that were Marines in their careers and how they associate that to the working environment. And if you follow people that have great discipline, great work ethic, you will see something on how everyone can be successful if you're willing to put in the work. But most people are not willing to put in the work. Joker said that if the worst fear he has is to not do all he needs to do in his lifetime, to live up to his full potential, to give everything he got, to make each minute count. Why? Because when he was in the Marines, a lot of his friends are not there to do that. They did not come back from the war. And therefore, he doesn't want to waste a minute. So he wakes up at 4 o'clock each morning. He's at the gym. And I love listening to these people with their work ethic, because it inspires me to not have excuses. And this year, I'm really surrounding myself with people like that. I'm powering up myself. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting more disciplined. And I'm building greater businesses. No matter the COVID, I'm going to double up this year. That's how strong I'm going, but it's because I'm surrounding myself with these people. Proximity is power. Proximity is power. So I want to share with you guys some things I learned about this book that I'm reading. Extreme ownership. You got to own your success. You got to own your circumstances, good or bad. You got to own it. How many people are blaming circumstances, especially in these hard times? So many people are blaming circumstances. So many people are blaming the economy. So many people are blaming COVID. So many people, and justifiable, they're blaming people and circumstances and all that. But does that help? Extreme ownership is about owning your future, owning your circumstances, owning your problems, owning your success. That's what it's about. It's about extreme ownership. Now, what's the difference between these two guys? Leif Boblin also wrote, was co-author in this book. What is really the difference with these guys? You see, these guys were leaders in the Marines and in war, and they had to lead soldiers, and their decisions as leaders was the difference of people living or dying. They were leaders in the army. They went into war. They went, and he speaks about how he went to Iraq and how difficult it was and how situations were happening. And he relates those situations to being in business. But obviously, those situations are much more extreme, but it is what it is. You got to have extreme ownership. He uses an example of a platoon going out and platoon going out, and he's saying to them, you guys need to go out, and there are two teams. And what happens is at the end of that raid that they went out on, the one team did not look after the other team, and there could have been casualties. And he debriefs that situation, and he realizes that the one team was saying, but that team wasn't our responsibility. And how many times does that happen in life? And he shows it he uses that as an example of leadership. How many times do people in teams they just think for themselves? They're not thinking for the other team because they're not part of that other team, but it's good for the company, it's good for the morale that the company must win, but they don't do that. Okay, so I like the fact of reading this book, and every chapter that you read it, he speaks about a situation that happened in war, in the army, in the military, and he relates it to business. And I love reading this book. I've learned so much out of this book. The second thing is, to lead, you need to clear a clear objective. Okay, you need a clear objective. So everyone in the team needs a clear objective. You need to know what is the objective, what is the outcome, what are we going to go and do. And I love the fact in this book he speaks about communication, and he says sometimes the leader has a clear objective, but the team doesn't. And there was a situation with bonuses. I remember he referred it to the army. He gave an example on when they went into a situation, he had to explain to all his team members, all the soldiers, he had to explain what was the clear objective in this, what they were trying to do. And then he relates it to, there was a situation where people were working, a company wanted to give bonuses to their employees. But the employees started complaining. They started seeing all these payments on their payslips. $240, $600, but they didn't know how it was worked out. It was a very complicated way to work out. And he speaks about simplicity in the book. When you're a leader, you've got to make things simple for your team to understand. They must know what is the clear objective, okay? The clear objective. The next thing is there needs to be trust amongst the team. And the leader needs to create that. The leader needs to create it. To lead, you need trust. To lead, you need clear objectives. And there must be trust. And that trust, a lot of times in companies today, there is not enough trust because there is fear of people getting fired. People are not allowed to make mistakes. There is no trust, and everyone is just trying to survive. So there is no trust in the team, and a leader needs to ensure that there is trust, okay? And there needs to be accountability. Without accountability, you don't have a standard in a business, okay? So the leader needs to ensure there are clear objectives. He needs to make sure there is trust in the business and there is accountability. When you mess up, there is accountability, okay? So the next thing I want to speak about, there must be a good mindset. There must be a good mindset. A leader must always have a great mindset, okay? If a leader has a bad attitude, he infects the team with it, right? So his mindset must be of the highest standard. And we speak about positivity, we speak about objectivity. He needs to have a great mindset. So that means leaders need to work on themselves continuously. If you want to be a great leader, you need to work on yourself continuously. You need to make sure you are emotionally strong in order to lead a team. Are you guys getting this? Good stuff. Okay. Extreme ownership. Take responsibility. So what does extreme ownership mean? So the other day I was listening to a podcast with him, and someone said on the podcast, sent a message and says, you know what? You haven't lived my life. You don't know what I've gone through. You don't know how I was brought up. You don't know the poverty, the abuse, and all that I was going on. And they were challenging him. And he said, listen, you know, I'm really sorry that you have gone through that. And it is terrible. But what's happening is you don't have extreme ownership. It's extreme circumstances, but you don't have extreme ownership. You're not taking responsibility for your life. And what you're actually doing is you're blaming your family, you're blaming your circumstances, you're blaming that, and that justifies yourself not to grow, not to push forward, not to become great in your life. So as soon as you take responsibility of your life and you don't blame circumstances, you don't blame people, that is extreme ownership. As difficult as it is, I am responsible for my failures, I'm responsible for my team, I'm responsible for my success, I'm responsible for everything good, bad, ugly in my life. I take responsibility. Do you know how much power that is? Do you know how much power you're giving yourself when you take that type of responsibility? When you take that responsibility, then you're back in control. You have power in your life because you are taking responsibility. Okay? Do not blame the economy, do not blame COVID, do not blame your boss, do not blame your team. How many people are failing every single day and they're blaming COVID? They're blaming COVID because of what has happened. And it could be 100% correct, but take responsibility. Yes, COVID came in, it hurt my business. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to take responsibility. And if I fail, I'm going to fail and then get up and sort this thing out. Or I'm not going to fail, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to push through COVID. I'm not going to blame my boss why I'm not earning more money. I'm not going to blame my boss why I'm so unhappy every single day. I'm not going to blame my wife, my husband, my dog, my dad because of my life sucks. I'm going to take responsibility for my life, and I'm no longer going to blame people, circumstances, situations. I'm no longer going to blame anyone. I'm taking responsibility, extreme ownership. I'm taking extreme ownership in my life, and what I can conquer anything as long as I'm taking responsibility for my life. Okay, and the next thing is team members which are not performing. Look at yourself first. When you have a team member that is not performing in your business, first thing a leader does is look at himself. What can I do to improve this team member? Have I supplied the training, the systems? Have I coached this person? Have I done everything I can, right? And when a person is not performing, you first look at the leader needs to look at himself first before he looks at the team member that is not performing, okay? And you always got to look at three things. You've got to look at, is there been enough training in this company? Does he know exactly what to do? Can I train this person better? Are the systems, is the environment, am I giving him the resources, the systems in order to execute his duties? Or am I expecting something and he doesn't have, I dig the hole in the ground but I don't give the spade, right? Answer the phone but I don't give a phone. I don't give airtime. So you keep arguing and you're blaming the employee, but you first have to look at yourself. Then you've got to look at the systems, right? Then you've got to look at training. And lastly, you've got to look at the person. If the person is really not performing, here comes the difficult part. You have a responsibility to the team. You have to be loyal to the team. You have a responsibility and be loyal to the mission that you have to let that person go. You've got a responsibility to deliver a service to the client. You will have to let that person go because they are not doing their side. Maybe they don't have the ability. Maybe they can't do it. You've got to let that person off the bus. You've got to let that person go. You have to be more loyal to the team. You must be more loyal to the mission than to that individual. That's just how it works. Okay? And you must understand that if that person's not performing, your client's performance is going to drop. If you don't have clients, you don't have oxygen, you don't have income, that is a challenge. You've got to let that individual go. Right. There is no bad teams, there is only bad leaders. How many times do you say, especially in our country where people say, you know what, I can't get good people. I can't build a great team. No, you're a bad leader. you're a shit leader and you are blaming everyone else, that's the one thing. Own it. Take ownership as a leader. Don't blame the individuals. Don't blame the teams why you don't have a great team. You see, if you do training, if you do systems, if you coach your people, if you create a standard, if you take ownership of everything, you will have a great team, because all the people, all the passengers on your own team, part of being a great leader, you got to let them go. So that's how you build a great team, right? Okay? Leader's attitude sets the tone for the team. I've spoken about attitude. If the leader has a crappy attitude, you will have a crappy team. The leader's attitude sets the tone of the team. Okay? You look at the attitude of the leader and you will see what type of team, what type of people will follow him. Okay? A leader drives performance, or he does not. There's either performance in the company or in the business, or there isn't. And it's the leader's responsibility to drive performance. He has to drive the performance in the team. Okay? It is not what you preach. It's not what you preach all the time and say all the time. It is what you tolerate. It's what you tolerate in your company. It's what you tolerate from your team. Do you tolerate bad performance, sub-performance? If you accept subpar performance with no accountability, then that will be the new standard. If you accept subpar performance with no accountability, then that is the new standard. The leader's responsibility is to hold the space, hold the standard. That's his job. He has to hold that standard, okay? Standards must be kept. That's how it works. Standards must be kept. And let me just end off with this. A leader must improve all the time. The leader must improve all the time. He must improve. But to improve, he must first be honest with himself. He first needs to be honest with himself and assess himself, him or herself first. The leader must assess himself first. You must always be improving.